We are live. Twitch is good. YouTube is good. And now Kick is good. YouTube is good. And now Kick is good. Okay. All right. Short stream tonight. I'm going to fix a couple bugs. Got a few things I want to knock out. But most importantly, I'm armed with a fresh Red Bull and strong opinions. So if that's the kind of thing you like, hit the follow or subscribe button, depending on whatever social media platform you're on. Or join me live on Twitch, YouTube, and Kick. We are here. We are there. Why are you not here? So that's the question of the night. Okay. First things first for tonight, we are going to, we have a bit of a bug where our filter opens up behind our map. So we just have a quick bug there. We're going to get the architect. Make sure we hit our agents. Yep. Okay. So we're going to have our architect agent. I would like the architect sub-agent to evaluate why our filter displays under our map in the map view. Please search this and build a plan. Make sure the plan aligns with Claude.md. Use ref MCP to find best practices for our tooling. Think harder. Plan mode, go. Uh-oh. Twitch pop out is, we got problems here, friends, problems. Twitch just logged itself out. Okay, it's still working. So I've been really happy with Claude's new sub-agents. I've modeled a couple out based on things that I think make sense. I recently, thanks to the TikTok commenters out there, was pointed in the direction of the BMAD approach, the BMAD method. And it's pretty darn good. It models very closely what I've tried to put in place, but much more extensive. So I'm going to be investigating that in the coming weeks. I actually reached out to the author of BMAD to see if we can do some collabs. So that'll be cool. But yeah, it takes what I've been trying to do and, turns it up to 11, which is exciting. So I've been thinking about how I want to use that, but that's been good. But yeah, if you're not using sub-agents in Claude, you're doing it wrong. Because as I've said dozens of times, what you want to do is you want to reduce the scope that your context is asked to maintain. So when you say you are this sub-agent, you only worry about this, that automatically reduces the context that agent is going to have to work with. If you think about the general agent, which is the one you normally use without specifying it, it has all this additional context it's trying to keep in its brain. So now you say you only worry about this. So we can focus on that and do that really well. I've had really great luck with that. So definitely use sub-agents. And if you're nervous about how do I create sub-agents, have Claude do it for you. Say, hey, I want to create some sub-agents. These are the type of personas or profiles that I want to use. Can you help me create that? Boom, you're done. Guess what? That's what I did. Makes life a lot easier. Also, my flip to the ref MCP from Context 7 has been near revolutionary. I've been so happy with ref. It works every time. Context 7 was always an issue. Let me restart that. I've been very happy with the switch to the ref MCP server for docs versus Context 7. If you've paid attention to my socials over the past couple of weeks, you have seen the struggles I've had with Context 7. Ref works every freaking time, and it's great. So I've been very happy with that switch. And if you're struggling with Context 7, don't hesitate. Jump over to ref. You'll be happy. Okay. We have a plan here from our architect subagent. Okay, so we knew it was a Z index because the filter, when you hit the filter on the map view, was showing behind the map, and that's always a Z index issue. For those of you that have not been down this path, it's just like math back in the day. There's an X-axis, a Y-axis, and a Z-axis. That's how it controls the layers of what shows on top of what. And so we had some issues early on with our map showing behind things and managing some of the modals and pop-ups. So we've had to manually manage the indexes, and with the filter, we didn't do that. So when we opened the filter in map view, it was behind the map, and that's not very helpful. So this is our fix. Simple enough. We are going to auto run this. Make sure we're in the right branch. Okay, yes. And this is a simple fix. So normally the workflow that I have is I have the architect subagent build a plan for how we want to attack the problem. Then I have that add that context of what we want to do and how we're going to do it. I add it to the GitHub issue that I'm working on. Then I have the full stack dev subagent come in, consume that GitHub issue, understand everything that it's trying to do, and then go do that work. And that has, again, focusing on keeping the context small of what we're worried about, what we're asking the AI to do. That's been way more effective than just working with a general agent. So this should be, it is a one-line fix. Claude is freaking out, which is awesome. I'm sorry to anybody that's watching the stream. Let me get out of there for you. Okay, so everything's passing. Shouldn't have broken anything. We'll just test it out because I prefer to test things out. So let me get a browser over here. Okay, so we flip to the map view. We hit the filter. Ooh, and that still doesn't work. Screenshot. So let's give it a little extra context of what's going on. That should have worked. That's why you test, my friends. That was a one-line fix. In my head, I knew what the fix was. This is exactly what I would have done if I wanted to fix it by hand. I would have gone in there, set it, but still, you got to test it out. And it didn't work exactly. So let's see. Please research and build a plan to address. Here is a screenshot. Now, what bugs me is the paste, and there's got to be a setting. Maybe there's a setting in Ghosty I can set, but the paste keyboard shortcut is different when I paste an image in than when I paste text everywhere else. So it's Control V to paste into Claude Code, but it's Command V everywhere else. 0, dismiss. We're not worried about that right now. Look at this up here. Paste from clipboard. Okay. All right, while this is processing, I gotta talk through a few things here. One of the things that I've often talked about when hiring developers or building teams is that so much of what you do as a developer is not hands-on keyboard. So yes, there's a revolution with AI coming where data entry is faster, but that doesn't really accelerate all of the other work that we need to do in deciding how we're going to solve a problem. We can get support with the architect subagent and things like that, but there's still complexity that we have to manage because humans are still more effective at managing the larger context windows of real life and longer term plans and architectures and everything that goes along with that. So we're still, I believe, a long ways away from AI taking jobs because there's way more to doing a job than just banging code out. All right, let's see what it has. Okay, we just want to do some research here. One of the things that I found beneficial with relying on the sub agents is that it has helped me get much better at forcing myself to think in smaller context windows. And every time I switch a sub agent, I clear the context window so that we're always starting fresh. We aren't trying to manage or maintain memory of what the previous agent did. That's why the output from my architect sub agent goes directly into a GitHub issue so that we're not asking it to manage that context across those sessions. We document the context that next agent is going to need, put it in a spot. This is the only thing it needs to worry about. Then clear the context window and start fresh. That's consistently been way more effective. Okay, here we go. It wants to set it extremely high. Okay. I'm a little worried about changing the Z index on the map container because we set it to 1,000 for a reason. We're going to do a research. We set the Z index on the map to 1,000 for a reason. I would rather not change that unless we have to. Remember, Claude.md forces us to make the smallest change needed to address the issue. Update this plan. Okay, so we'll go with that. Once again, Claude says I'm absolutely right. If you ever want to feel good about yourself, slightly disagree with Claude, and it will repeatedly tell you you are absolutely right. So if you ever need to pick me up, Claude Code is here for you. Ask it to do something, then ask it to do that same thing slightly different. And its immediate response will be, you're absolutely right. So there you go. You have that in your back pocket. All right, so we're going to keep the smallest change possible. Okay, we'll do that. I like that plan. While this is doing its thing, I've got something I have to get off of my chest for my Agile friends that are out there that are panicking in the AI space. And as Agile becomes the norm, and what do I do? What kind of role do I land in? As I look at the evolution over the month and change that I've been working on building this product with AI, it started out as prompt engineering. That was the hot thing. Then I just looked at some videos of mine on TikTok where I pronounced prompt engineering is dead. It's about context engineering. That's here. And now if you look at all the AI hype videos on YouTube, they're all about spec-driven development and how that's the wave, that's the future. Guess what, friends? If you've been doing software properly for the past 20 plus years, you've been doing spec-driven development. If you've been building a backlog with well-defined and well-refined stories, you've been doing spec-driven development. So what's old is new, but really what's worked then works now. It just goes back to the old saying of what worked for human developers now works well for AI developers. So everything you've built up over the years, everything you've learned in school about how to manage a product backlog and everything goes into that, surprise, surprise, it works really well these days too. Okay, so let's test again. Refresh. Get back to map view, filter. Still under. Well, well, well. Okay. All right, we're going to ask Mr. Architect. I do want to maintain the context of everything that we've been doing. So I don't want to clear it. I don't want to compact. I don't want to do any of that yet. But we did talk about if that didn't work, we've got to rethink how we're building the page. That still didn't address the issue. Let's ask the architect to use ref MCP server to build a new plan that doesn't rely on Z index to address the issue of the filter showing behind the map. Make sure any plan aligns with Claude Code, Claude.md. If you find a plan that would require us to break a rule in Claude.md, that is okay, but ask first. Think harder. This is an interesting one. We'll see what the actual issue is. Oh, interesting. I did not know it did that. So it is building a prompt. So Claude Code is building a prompt based on the prompt I gave it for the sub agent. That's interesting. I would be interested to see what that prompt is. I wonder if there's a way to do that. If anybody knows a way to see that or see that output, I would be interested in learning how to see that, because it would be a good learning opportunity to understand how it's trying to talk to itself. Yeah, so it's the biggest gains I've had in using Claude Code have been continually reducing the scope of the context. I've done that both with how I think about breaking down work regularly and how I build my issues, but also using the subagents. Those have been the two unlocks where I've been able to reduce that scope as much as possible. And there's a ton of research that's out there that talks about the smaller the context window that you're asking a LLM to work with, regardless of what the max context window is, the smaller the context you're asking it to work with, the more effective it is. And that's proven to be true in all of the work that I've done. If you get to a point when you're working with Claude Code and it has to do a compaction, you need to rethink your strategy because you are not keeping your context window small enough. You are not breaking down your work into small, manageable chunks. So if you ever get to that point where Claude auto compacts, or even if you start to get to that point where it's giving you that warning in the bottom right hand saying, hey, we're like 3% away from having to compact, heads up, make sure you don't let that happen because hallucination goes up after the compaction. So you just opening up the window for things to go a little haywire. So be careful, my friends. So let's think about map view. We don't really have, the only modals we would have we shouldn't have to get too wound up about modals and map view at this point. So z-index shouldn't really be an issue. Okay. What do you have for me, Ms. Architect? Okay, so filter bar fixed. Option 2. Create a portal utility and render. Oof, I don't know. All right, let's go with the minimal approach until that doesn't work. I'm fine with that. This solution definitively solves the problem. Claude has said things like that before. We shall see. We shall see. Place your bets, my friend. Place your bets on try number 3. Will Claude Code get this right? We've even connected it with all the docs it needs. Didn't get it right the first couple times. Then we forced it to rethink the plan. What's up, Andy? How are you doing on this Monday night? Hanging out in software engineering streams. Booyah. Welcome to the club. All right, we're claiming victory here. I can restart, rerun. We'll test this out. Switch to, whoa. That's a problem. Oh, Andy. Yeah, I never tried Cursor because I was such a heavy VS Code user. I had all my settings, and I know there's migrations and things like that. But I never, was willing to make that jump. I did try Klein in VS Code, and I like that. I found that useful. Then Claude Code came out, and I gave that a shot, and I just kind of committed myself to it. I said, hey, I need to learn one tool. Let me go with this tool. This will be the tool that I'm going to use. I'm going to force myself to build an app with it. So I've been on like a month-long journey building this app that you're seeing here now using Claude Code exclusively. Any good tips? Follow me on social media, because if you go to TikTok or YouTube Shorts or whatever, all my content is there, where I talk about things. But the short version is using sub-agents and having a well-documented claude.md file and child files where the architecture is broken out into various subfiles. That's been very effective. And then the biggest thing that sub-agents have really helped with has been fighting to keep the context window that I'm asking Claude Code to work with as small as possible. I don't think that's a Claude Code thing. I think that's going to be effective in whatever tool that you're going to use, but Claude Code and the sub-agents have really forced me to think about things differently, and that's been very effective. So I've been very happy with that. So, all right, we got to go back and tell them, hey, it didn't work. That didn't work. And not only did it not work, but now the bar that holds the filter button and the map list switch renders on top of everything, including our header. So users can't even log in out if they need to. Option 1 clearly was not the answer. What is our next best option? Think hard. All right, take care of yourself, Andy. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for jumping in the chat. Appreciate you. All right, so for those of you that are joining, what we are trying to solve is, and it's made it worse now, is the filter bar, as you can see, shows under the map. So we knew that was a bug. I thought it was going to be a one-line fix, just managing the Z index, that would be a simple fix, wouldn't be an issue. Turns out Leaflet does some tricky things with how it manages the Z index, so that's created a few problems for us. So we're working through that. Classic, hey, I thought this was going to be a one-line change. Turns out to not be a one-line change. That's why I don't know about you guys, but when I'm leading engineering teams, I don't ever ask them to size bugs when planning a sprint or anything like that, because what happens is you have no idea how long it's going to take to fix that bug. And by the time you figure out what's going to take to fix the bug, it's usually a 1 or 2 line change. So all of the work is in the research. So I've found it to be pretty impossible to estimate bug effort. We just know it's going to be unknown and we deal with it there. Okay, what do we have here, Claude? What do you have for us? What do you have for us? All right. Revert. That makes sense. So this is where you need to be careful. Claude's tried to fix this issue now 4 times. And each approach was slightly off. So now the thing that I'm worried about is we have a couple of, and it's tried to revert a couple things, but we have a couple of things lingering from previous fixes that it's attempted. So I want to be careful with this. I'm going to let it make its changes, but I'm going to see if there's a way that we can revert some of the changes back to the original way it worked and just leave it the way it was. So actually I'm going to do that. I would like to revert all changes to what we have in our main branch and reevaluate how we apply this approach to that page layout. We have a couple of half-baked and half-working fixes layered on top of each other right now. Okay. Yeah, so that's one of those things where, as I've talked about in the past, as it tries to do things, it gets things slightly wrong, and then you end up with a couple of slightly wrong things that are left over in the final version. So you have to be careful and make sure you clean up after yourself after it's tried a few things. Just like when you're trying to fix a bug, you're trying to build something, you're not going to get it right. And sometimes you have some remnants left over that you know shouldn't be a part of that. And we're in that same state where there's a couple things that it's tried and it's kind of left those in there. So we're going to do a fresh cleanup and start from where things were. Yep. Okay. Okay. Good plan. Good plan. Good plan. Good plan. Yeah, you just got to be careful. And Claude's not doing it on purpose. Again, it's no different. It's just good development practices. If you're trying things out, you're figuring things out, you try a couple things, they don't work. Claude's doing the same thing. It just types code a little bit faster than you. It can do research a little bit faster than you, but it still makes the same mistakes where you got to make sure you're starting fresh, you're starting clean, you're not layering a partially working solution on top of another one, which is the situation that we got in. Okay. So it looks like we're good. All right, so we're gonna make a couple changes to get our filter bar rendering the way it should, not under the map. And maps and leaflet and all of these tools, it's always a little bit messy. It's never silky smooth. Woo. Oh, okay. That's all we did. So we're gonna have to make sure we go into Dev Tools and look at this in all screen formats. Because that will be important. Okay, so that did its thing. So now let's rebuild, retest. Okay, cool. Why is the filter bar? Okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. So now that's here. So now filter that doesn't do it. So let's take a screenshot of this. That did not resolve the issue. Also, the filter bar. Oh, I wonder if it's confused about the filter bar. It is. Okay. Okay. I just reverted the changes. The problem is not the filter bar, but the filter, what is that called? Sheet. But the filter sheet that slides out when we click the filter button. Please reevaluate the plan with this new context and find the simplest approach that aligns with Claude.md. Okay, so that was the issue. The problem why Claude wasn't working was I wasn't communicating well enough. It read it as the filter bar, not the filter sheet. So it kept adjusting the filter bar. So yeah, we'll see how it fixes that. So it might end up being the one line change. Just we were doing the one line change in the wrong spot, in the wrong component. We shall see. The one hesitation I have is, should I have cleared the context with this new information of it's the sheet, not the bar? Is it carrying around unnecessary context of the way it was trying to solve the problem? And now that's increasing the likelihood of future solutions not being as clean as they should. So if this doesn't work, that's what I'll do is I'll start over. I'll clear the context. I'll clear everything out and we'll start fresh. And I'll use the wording that I was expecting versus the wording that I was using. And listen, how many times have you had this problem when you're working with your fellow devs or you're working with your product owner or whoever? You're working through a problem. You're both trying to solve the same thing, but you're like talking past each other. You're using similar words, but not the same. And you can't figure out why the other person doesn't quite get it. That just happened here. I couldn't figure out why Claude Code was doing what it was doing. Then I realized all of a sudden I had that aha moment of, oh, you're thinking filter bar, I'm thinking filter sheet. And that turned out to be the issue. Now that we've solved that, we should be in a good spot. Quick, easy fix. I just jinxed it, but yeah. Okay. Hello there. With the follow, thanks for dropping in. I'm just going to call you Beats because I'm not sure the right way to say the first 6 letters of your username. So we're just going to shorten it to Beats. Sorry. Okay, here we go. What do we got? What do we got? Slides out. Yep. Appears behind the leaflet map instead of above it. Leaflet map controls. Yes. Sheds. Okay. 50. So it should be a simple. Okay. That should do it. CJ. I can work with CJ. That's even easier. That works for me. How's it going tonight, CJ? Thanks for dropping in. We are working on a bug here that has our. Actually, let me rerun this. When we go into map view and we hit the filter. Oh, hey, it fixed it already. Okay, that's the problem. So what was happening was the filter was rendering under the map view. You know, I am streaming always helps me. I enjoy streaming. I enjoy working on these kind of things. Things I've said in the past is most normal people at my age get into woodworking or something like that. This is the woodworking I do. You're in the UK. It's kind of late out there, right? You're like plus 5 hours. And I am American. So you're a night owl there, my friend. Okay. I like that. So let's make sure this works. Yep. That works just fine. And let me clear these. Those issues are because we were not. Let me rebuild. Let's refresh that. We shouldn't have any Next.js issues. Flip to map. Filter. Boom. That's good. Okay. We switch our type. Okay, cool. All right. That should do it. Man, I'm sorry you can't sleep. I've been there. I get there sometimes. I appreciate what you're going through, man. I feel you on that. That is no fun at all. So hopefully I can be boring enough to get you back to sleep. We'll see what I can do. Okay. Let's get this fix on a branch and in a PR for review. Hey, thanks for stopping by there on Kick. Hey, B. My streams are always a vibe. Well, I don't know what that vibe is. There's a vibe. I'm glad you labeled it as a vibe. Appreciate you stopping in and hanging out. You can find me on Discord. My Discord username is the same as my social media name or my Kick YouTube or Twitch name. It's Josh_Anderson_FTW. So feel free to reach out. Thank you. The 4 named person drops into YouTube chat. Matthias, James, Ryan, Tangonen. Daggone. You can always ask a question, CJ. That's what I'm here for. That's why we're doing this. I'm learning. You're learning. We're figuring stuff out. All right, so this will create a pull request, which it did. That will get all of our tools doing review on the code. Why is it so difficult to get funding as a solo founder? You know, my response to the difficulty in getting funding as a solo founder is that I don't think it's harder solo versus not. I think getting funding is just difficult because there is a expectation of a certain level of performance. You know, the number of times I've heard, hey, come back when your MRR is, 50,000 or 100,000 or your ARR is $1 million. Come back then. Well, when I've done that, do I really need the funding? Right. So that's always one of the, it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing. It's always been an issue. So yeah, I certainly understand. I would say it's very difficult to get significant funding if you're pre-revenue. If you have revenue coming in and you're showing growth, then should be okay. All right, so what does it not like? So Copilot's always the first. It doesn't like this important thing. All right, so in this situation, what I like to do is we let all the code reviews get done. then we go back and ask Claude Code, hey, read through all the comments. Now let's build a plan to respond to those comments. Which are comments we should worry about? If we should worry about it, what are those changes? Let's build a plan. Let's make that happen. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so CodeRabbit is usually the slowest. So that means that Claude Code all right, so Claude Code, yeah, it doesn't like, oh, okay. Yeah, so that's been the benefit of having 3 different reviewers is they each view the world slightly differently and with different levels of context. So it's good. I've been very happy with this 3-headed monster. Yeah, CJ, what I've learned in startups that I've launched myself, that I've been a part of, is that ideas are cheap, ideas are easy, which, you know, might be a kick in the gut. But it gets down to execution because in reality, there's not that many new ideas that are out there. It gets down to, can you take that idea and turn it into something that fits in the market, that gets paying customers with recurring revenue? So that's why getting that funding in this stage of pre-revenue is pretty difficult. Folks want to see that you've been able to find that product market fit and gain some traction. And then at that point, the funding really comes in to accelerate you. You can probably get some friends and family money to help you get kickstarted. But I too have had many an idea that I was unable to get funded, and all of the ideas that got funded weren't ideas anymore. They were where I was able to, either myself personally or the company I was working with was able to establish traction and show that, hey, we actually have a thing. So that's the unfortunate reality. I'm sorry if that stings a little bit, but that's just the reality of what I've seen in my 25 years of going down this path and having a million ideas. I got lots of ideas. So I understand where you're coming from. That probably doesn't help your sleep situation. Again, I apologize. I told you I was going to try and be boring and help you get sleepy, but apparently not. Okay, so we have a bit of an argument here. Claude Code is saying, hey, this important declaration is a little sketchy, but it's required because of Radix UI. Copilot doesn't like it at all. Let's see what CodeRabbit says. Okay. All right. So we're going to go back and we're going to do our thing where we're going to go back to plan mode. We're going to clear. We're going to start fresh, clear early and often. Please review all PR comments on GitHub. PR number, what are we on there? 198. 198, and build a plan for how we should respond to the comments. It is okay if we choose not to take action on a comment, but if we do, please provide, please provide a reason. Make sure all plans align with Claude.md. Use ref MCP for reference. Okay. So we'll go with that. Yeah, CJ, funding is a challenge. I understand you. I spend most of my time in that space. In fact, I've partnered up with a firm that tries to help with funding for folks like that. So, yeah. So reach out to me, CJ. Send me a message or in Twitch on my channel. I think there's a, let me look. Trying to give you ways to reach out to me. Yeah, on my channel, there's a link to my company. You can reach out to me there. Again, pretty much any, hold on, I'm hearing myself. Pretty much any social media, my handle is the same as it is here on Twitch and Kick and YouTube, so you can find me pretty much anywhere. Okay. Couple, hold on. Let me get going here. I got a couple different questions to answer here. So CJ, yes, it's confusing. But again, I go back to any VC that I've ever worked with or had partnered with is only going to invest in something that's proven. And it does feel like a bit of chicken and the egg. And so I've found it to be very rare for anybody to get funding for an idea. Again, I go back to the theory that ideas are free, ideas are cheap, ideas are easy. Executing on that, I built a whole business around that, around helping people that have their idea. Maybe their idea is going well and they just got funded and they're trying to go further, or they're stuck. They can't get it. So I've built a whole business around that. But yeah, it's a tough place to be. I wish I had a magic wand that I could give you and say, hey, this is what you got to do. But in reality, the problem is you got to find a way to get an MVP. So, Matthias, I try and clear after every action, after everything that we do. Again, my focus is keep the context window that you're asking Claude Code to work with as small as possible. So I have taken the mantra of clear early and clear often. And to do that, what I end up doing is I end up creating a lot of documentation in GitHub, creating issues there, adding comments to the issues, or having Claude Code add comments, and then bringing another sub agent in to read that and then process it. Something you might want to look at is the BMAD method. It handles a lot of the documentation itself, whereas I'm pushing mine into GitHub. So just different repositories of ways you can manage that. And I am not using the $200 plan. I'm currently on the $100 plan. So yeah. And I think based on the plan level, that unlocks Opus versus Sonnet. So I think you effectively have to pay to play to get Opus, but then your Opus credits run out pretty quick. So, you unlock that, but then it's gone. So, okay, here we go. You bet, sir. All right. We should address the hard-coded values. Oh. Interesting. CJ, you're good. Don't worry, buddy. I'm happy to help. Let me read through this plan and I'll get back to you. Okay. Okay, so that's all good. CJ. So the question of, does an MVP require actual software? Can it be a pitch with somewhat accurate figures? Here's what I've been able to do in the past. I've been able to acquire beta customers with a prototype in Figma or something like that, that then gets the revenue train started, that then can fund you going and building the thing. So there's a couple ways you can make that happen, but ultimately you are going to need a fully functional product. Not fully functional. You're going to need a functional enough product that you can go to market with it and get people to part with their own money. So it's got to be just good enough to do that. And you've got to find that sweet spot of what the MVP really is, of what the truly minimum viable product really is for that to work. And that is one of those things that everybody struggles with, the thing that you read and see everywhere, that I will say, even though you've probably heard it, is release it when you're embarrassed. It's going to be uncomfortable. I am right there. If I wasn't going on a short vacation with my kids here in a couple days, I would release this thing to the wild now. There's still things I want to add, but I know the most important thing I can do is get it out there and get the feedback of our users. But the last thing I want to do is launch a product and then go on vacation and then, be worrying about, oh, I launched this thing and there's feedback or it's broken or whatever. I don't need that when I'm on vacation. So I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I just, you can fake it until you make it to get yourself beta customers, the first couple of customers to validate that. But then to go get funding, unless you have a track record. Unless you have a track record of building successful companies, it's going to be hard to get that funding. Let me sign in here. Oh, it's not going to like that. Yeah, okay. I will test by hand. Yeah, man, I've been there. I understand. Yeah, but you can get to an MVP prototype to get beta customers. You can use things like Lovable to do something similar, or v0.dev. Those are a couple of different tools. You have to pay a little bit, but those are tools you can use that are specifically targeted at prototyping things. So if you're not comfortable with Figma, that's something that you could do and see if it works. Okay, I got to test this. It's claiming victory. It does that. Relax, Claude. Just relax. Let's validate this. Map view, filter, yes. Switch to phone, yes. Sign out. Okay, I'm in. Sign in. Okay, that still works. Okay, cool. List, filter. Okay. All that looks good. All right, so we'll push that up. Yeah, CJ. Wish I had some, again, I wish I had a magic wand to help you. But unfortunately I don't. Okay, so that's up there. So now we'll get oh, Code Rabbit's responding to the comment before I pushed up the code. All right, we're going to leave this alone. This is going to be good enough. It's going to be good enough. Yeah, that's why so many first-time startups are built on nights and weekends, because you do ultimately have to get some level of traction. So you are going to be stuck in the position of having a day job, working on your thing nights and weekends to make it happen. I do this stuff at night, so I certainly understand. Okay, so Copilot isn't like that, but yeah, okay. Okay, we're gonna be good. I gotta wait for the build. Then we'll merge. Then we'll be done for the night. So we're gonna get this good. So I'm gonna shut it down. Thanks to everybody for hanging out, bringing in the questions. My one-line fix turned out to not be a one-line fix an hour and 10 minutes later. But that's okay. That's why we do this. There's no other way to learn. Oh, so if you ask for 500,000, is there a specific number of beta customers I need? It's going to get down to a handful of variables for you, CJ. It's going to get down to the lifetime value of the customers that you have. That'll be hard for you, but you'll know how much they're going to charge, or how much you're going to charge per month. You'll have a pretty good idea of how often they churn out. So how often your customers leave. It'll get down to understanding your customer acquisition costs. So how much does it cost you to get a new customer in sales and marketing? And then in the SaaS world, there's just some general metrics of those numbers tied in with your growth, and that all kind of lines up, and that gets you to where you'll have to understand what the value of the company you have is based on those three variables and your growth numbers. And then there's some pretty simple, consistent math that goes into figuring out what the value is of your company that will tell you how much you'll need to give up for $500,000. So there's a handful of variables that go into that. Okay. CJ, my friend, I hope you can find some sleep soon. And I hope that all goes well. Everybody in YouTube, thanks for swinging in. And our one kick loner out there, thanks a bunch for dropping in the comments. And I will probably stream tomorrow. So I will see you all